this video, you'll learn about what developmental milestones are and why you should care. So first, let's talk about what developmental milestones are. Developmental milestones are those skills that every child masters by a certain age. Developmental milestones are more than those medical milestones of the percentage that your child's head circumference increases or the length or weight that they gain from your last visit. Developmental milestones are those skills that become the building blocks for abilities that your child develops to be able to kick a soccer ball into a soccer net, or be able to get themselves dressed independently, or be able to solve a hard math problem, or to be able to make good friends and keep friends. Developmental milestones that happen in this early stage of your child's development form the strong foundation for your child's lifelong learning. Developmental milestones are important because it enables healthcare professionals to know that your child is on track to building that strong foundation that sets the course for lifelong learning. Next, let's talk about why you should care about developmental milestones. You see, developmental milestones aren't just a way for me as a healthcare practitioner to know that your child is on track. Developmental milestones give you the ability to understand if your child is on track to meeting their developmental milestones. You see, nobody wants to be left in the dark or guessing whether or not their child is on the path to meeting those skills. Nobody wants to be left comparing their child to somebody else's child when we know that our child is unique and is going to move through the progression of these skills in their own unique way. Developmental milestones stack on top of each other. They go from easier skills to much harder skills so that your child isn't going to come out of the womb kicking a soccer ball. They've got to go through those stages of being on their back, to rolling over to their side, to rolling under their belly, to rolling back onto their back, to getting up into crawling, to being able to crawl, to pull a stand, to start taking those first steps, to start climbing upstairs, to start running, and then kicking that soccer ball into that soccer net a little bit later down the road. But you get the point. That these earlier skills, these easier skills, set the foundation for these higher level skills. Let's unpack that a little bit more. So, we know that developmental milestones move through a progression that starts off with easier skills as the foundation for harder skills to be built upon. And the reason why you should care about developmental milestones is because if you miss these foundational skills, it's harder for these other skills to develop. You see, the brain is hardwired to develop in just this manner, for easier skills to get mastered so that harder skills can be built right on top of it. I'm going to use one of my favorite toys ever to give you a little bit of an illustration of what this looks like. And so if we're looking at harder skills being on the bottom, we want to be able to walk our way up to the higher skills at the top. So in order to do this, we have to have that strong foundation. So let's use the example of standing. So in order for your little one to be able to stand independently, first they have to be able to master tummy time. They have to build all the strength necessary in the front of their body and in the back of their body, in their arms and in their legs to get them to the standing position. It's because they gain strength and mastery in this tummy time that they're able to begin to roll over, because the arms are able to help with rolling from their tummy to their back or to their side. And as they gain strength there, they're able to roll and then be able to prop themselves up into sitting. Once they've mastered sitting, look out everybody, they're able to get into that crawling position. And once they're able to crawl, look out, because they've learned that they can act and interact with their world. And the brain says, ooh, give me more of this. And so as the brain begins to crawl, as the body begins to crawl and gives the brain more stuff to think about, the body starts to say, well, how about this whole standing thing? Let's give that a shot. So after they've mastered this crawling thing, they're able to go on to pulling to stand. They're able to crawl over to places and pull themselves up to standing. And once your little one is able to pull to stand, then they're able to start to cruise along surfaces, cruise between surfaces, and then be able to walk independently. And then they're going to start running, and then you won't be able to hold them back because they're just going to go off, and it's all wonderful after that. Anyway, And so it's important to understand that each one of these skills stair steps on top of another. And in order for your child to have a strong foundation for coordinated movement, for that athleticism, we have to make sure that they're strong in all the muscles necessary to support this foundation down here so that they're able to get to this higher level up here. I want to share with you two skills that seem completely unrelated but are absolutely connected. We're talking about tummy time and self-feeding. Huh? How does that work? Well, first let's talk about tummy time. Tummy time is that space where your little body, your baby's little body, is working on all the muscles on the front of their body and on the back of their body, on the sides of their body. They're learning how to prop themselves up. And whenever they're learning how to prop themselves up, they're developing the muscles on the front of their shoulders, the back of their shoulders, their chest area, and they're also working on gaining strength in their elbows, their wrists, and their hands. When they prop up, they're weight bearing and weight shifting on both sides of the body and developing the muscles in the palm of the hand, which enables them to work on grasping with accuracy, being able to grab onto something and hold on to it, being able to grab something and manipulate it or touch it with the other hand, which is the beginning part of poking. Poking is important because it tells us that your baby's grasp is moving from more of a strong grasp, which is this side of the hand, to more of a refined grasp, which is this side. So this is where the power comes in your hand, and this side is where the refined movement comes. The ability to pick items up and put them in your mouth, to be able to poke different things is an important skill, and understanding that your pointer finger is like a tool that's able to act and interact with the world. And once you're able to better understand from a thinking standpoint of how your pointer finger can act and interact and pick things up and put things in your mouth, you are well on your way to self-feeding. All these skills are stair steps for your child to be able to move from tummy time and that important aspect of propping up on their arms and gaining all that strength and be able to breathe and move and prop themselves up and get that strength in their upper body to be able to begin grasping and then poking and then being able to use a tool to be able to feed themselves with a spoon or a fork and their fingers as well. And this stage of independence with feeding is all built on the strong foundation of this developmental milestone of being able to have your little one tolerate tummy time. So when we're talking about the developmental milestone of tummy time being related to self-esteem, what does that even look like and why should you care? So let's unpack this a little bit. At the bottom of our pyramid here, we have tummy time. Tummy time is that space where your little one gains so much strength and mobility that enables them to have the strength to be able to move around in their environment. They're better able to learn how to crawl and then come up to all fours position and then begin to pull to stand and then be able to move around in their environment. And as they learn all these skills, they're learning about exploration, of being able to see something across the room and have the independence to be able to go and get it or at least look at it because they are so curious about those things. And that curiosity leads to greater levels of cause and effect of that if I do this, then this happens. And if I have an idea in my mind, can I make it happen with my body? Which leads to higher levels of independence and autonomy and greater levels of self-esteem. If I can act on my environment to do what it is I think I want to do, I gain great levels of independence and feelings of worth and self-esteem in my world. And so, my friend, at the very bottom of this pyramid, there is tummy time. And because we have tummy time, we have the independent ability to move. Because as we gain skills here, we're moving into mastery of movement. And as we gain mastery of movement, we feel more confident about exploring our environment. And as we explore our environment more, we're able to engage in greater levels of cause and effect, of being able to act on the environment and something happen, whether it's positive or it's negative. Still being able to know that we can do things in the world is a big, big skill, a big thinking skill that leads to greater levels of self-esteem, self-efficacy, and confidence for your little one just to continue to work on developing greater levels of social emotional learning. And it all starts with tummy time. So So our question was, why should you care about developmental milestones? Well, here's the thing. If you understand the progression of developmental milestones, of how each skill stair-steps on the other, and you watch and interact with your child, you understand the unique progression that is essential for your little one to make gains. Each child is unique, and you are the only expert on your child when it comes to where they are in that progression. And finding the advice of others in online communities that have no idea what your little one is moving through and how they're progressing in the direction of meeting these developmental milestones does nothing but overwhelm you and make you feel kind of yucky as a caregiver. When you have the confidence in knowing that your child is on target, moving in the direction of each one of these little developmental milestones, it sets you up for success. It sets your little one up for success, and it gives them a strong start so that they can build this strong foundation for lifelong learning. In this video, we talked about what developmental milestones are and why you should care about them. We learned that developmental milestones are those skills that every child masters by a certain age. Then we talked about why you should care, that developmental milestones are like building blocks to better understand the progression of your child's development. We know that development moves from simple skills to more complex skills, and each skill that your child masters is dependent upon a skill below it. In our next video, I'll be talking about what doctors and therapists like me are looking at whenever we assess for developmental milestones and developmental delay.